The Ghoul update in Fallout 76 has dropped a ton of new features into the Wasteland, but the biggest one so far, obviously, you could turn into a ghoul and obviously play as a ghoul. Depending on how you look at that, either it's dope as hell or extremely cursed. But one of the new best mechanics to come out of this whole entire Ghoul update for Ghoul players is the new glow mechanic. If you know Fallout, you know some ghouls glow, so now you can too as a ghoul. But why is glowing so important? Why do you want to keep that glow meter filled? And what's the best way to keep your glow meter filled? Don't you dare fret, we've got every answer for everything you need. There are so many different reasons why you want to keep your glow meter completely topped off, but let's start off with the best reason to keep your glow up, and that's obviously going to be all the extra damage that you're able to output because of all of the new perk cards that they added if your glow meter is high. You may have noticed, like I said, there are a lot of perk cards that grant you some type of bonus while your glow meter is high, or that you'll use up some of that glow for extra damage, which is insane. So basically, if you keep your glow up, you have a chance to do 150% more damage while power attacking, which is insane on the auto axe. It's completely broken from just a simple perk card like radioactive strength. Why wouldn't you take that if you're a melee build? Why wouldn't you want to be a ghoul? And that's not even including the 300% melee bonus that they get from just being feral. That is just including one perk card from having your glow meter high. Or you could spend some glow to do 20% bonus damage with the radiation power perk card, which is again insane. And there's even ways to just boost the damage of straight up weapon types, like you do more damage with energy weapons if you have some glow and it's costing you some glow with the mad scientist perk card. It is ridiculous. There are so many extra ways to add extra damage, and obviously, there are so many new perk cards that could just add an insane amount of damage while glowing. It literally affects every single build. There's extra grenade damage, ballistic damage, melee damage, energy weapon damage. Whatever weapon you use, you could boost just anything of it. You could boost the raw damage of it just by throwing on one of these cards, and of course you could even get increased critical damage while you're glowing. It just doesn't make sense for you to be a ghoul and not be constantly glowing and have these perk cards in. You're just throwing away damage if you're not a glowing ghoul. It doesn't make any sense to me. Every time I see someone in the Wasteland that is a ghoul and isn't glowing, I always wonder if they're okay or if they need anything in life. And obviously, since you basically don't have to do anything to get these to proc besides just have a bunch of rads, you kind of would be silly if you didn't implement some of these into your everyday ghoul build. It's just extra free damage, and this is just one benefit of glowing. It's just all of the extra damage. There are so many more that we're going to talk about in the 1 second, but it's just a perk card and radiation. The pros definitely outweigh whatever cons of having to keep your glow meter up, and there's some easy ways we're going to talk about in 1 second. The next biggest reason to keep your glow meter topped off that I have to say 100% is the fact that it's basically just another health bar on top of your health bar already. Think of it like this. It's a shield from Borderlands. If you know anything about that game, then you know what I'm saying. The enemies have to break your shield before they could actually get to your straight up health, so it actually adds a nice layer of tankiness and survivability. And again, if you're using one of the methods on this list, you never will lose your glow meter, so you're constantly going to be topped off on health while doing an insane amount of damage also, no matter what you're using, because you're a ghoul. Onslaught exists, and also you have an extra 20% damage here, 20% damage there from using different glowing perk cards. It's extremely nice. And obviously there are some perk cards that just give you some survivability while your glow is high. First one that comes to mind is the brick wall perk card, which makes it so you won't stagger from enemies if you have high glow, which is super nice for any melee build. I assume that when Bethesda adds more cards in the next update with the fishing to come out, that they are going to add some more health-based perk cards, so just keep an eye out for that. There's not too many cards that directly influence your health, but based on your glow, but the glow bar itself is another health bar that enemies have to go through, so you basically get double health and the whole damage increase through all the perk cards makes it so you'll still output the same damage as your old average bloody build with just 9 times the amount of health, because you'll be full health and you will have another full health bar on top of your full health bar. Pretty intense there. Now, but there are obviously some smaller buffs too that I wanted to talk about, so let's get into them. Like I did just mention, there are some other small benefits that you can get from having a full glow meter through a couple of different perk cards. And firstly, I just wanted to mention that you could get quicker AP regen through the Action Ghoul perk card if your glow meter is full, which is really nice. It can be stacked with the Action Boy for crazy nice VATS regeneration. You can basically get 90% VATS regeneration. It is only stackable right now. Bethesda may change that in the future just because it is a little bit broken on all of those nice gunslinger builds. You're going to want to throw that on just so then you could basically have infinite AP. It is really, really nice and a little bit broken, but again, quicker AP regeneration through the Action Ghoul perk card. It is really fun, not necessary, just a little small benefit that you can get. You can also increase how fast you sprint through the Jaguar Speed perk card, which again is crazy. This makes you feel like an absolute speed demon. That 20% that it gives is crazy noticeable, and it is really fun on a melee build. It almost is a must-have for me. If they bumped it up a little bit more, maybe to like 30 or 40%, I would probably have it on every single one of my builds, at least my melee build 100% Ghoul or not. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of would only have to have it on a Ghoul, but you know what I mean. It is a great perk card that I would want to put on all of my melee builds if it was just a little bit better. But if you've noticed that you're a little bit slower, throw this perk card on and you get 20% speed boost just for having a glow or full glow meter, which is really nice. Finally, I wanted to mention that you could also increase your evasion chance, excuse me, through the Hyper Reflexes perk card, which is just also, again, stupidly fun. It's another 20% increase, but it really makes a difference, which is always nice to feel when they actually, say 20%, and it feels like a lot more than that. Very good balancing on these cards. I feel like they did a great job. But there you go. You could get quicker AP regen. You could sprint faster. You could get higher invasion. Really, no matter whatever you're struggling with, keeping your glow meter high can fix all of those problems. You need more damage, just glow and throw on some perk cards. Same with extra survivability, with evasion chance and extra health. You need more AP. Keep your glow high. Throw on a few perk cards. It's really nice to have a way to boost almost all aspects of your playstyle. But now, finally, let's talk about how you can keep your glow meter topped off no matter where you are in the wasteland. I'm going to talk about a few ways that you can fill up your glow meter, probably the best ways in my opinion, and break them up into 2 categories. First up, we will have the camp category, then the on-the-go category, but the main thing to note here is your glow meter is directly tied to how much radiation you intake. The more rads you intake, the more glow is added to your glow meter until your bar caps out. I also wanted to add that the amount of radiation you receive can be buffed with multiple perk cards, so just keep that in mind as a way to increase your rad intake, which will further fill up your bar even faster. Let's start with the camp because it's really simple and pretty straightforward compared to on the go. There's a lot less options. Now, the best way and the main way to fill up your glow meter while at your camp is through the use of camp items. There are so many different camp items that you use that could give you radiation, like the asteroid, the radioactive barrels, the foundry smelter, or the newly added blood transfusion machine, which is extremely nice. Simply place down one of these items and interact with it. Boom, you'll be gaining radiation, which will fuel your glow meter. All of these items give a different amount of radiation per interaction. Like, I think the radioactive barrel gives just a little bit, and then like the blood transfusion machine gives a crap ton. I suggest having at least one of these at all of your camps. The new blood transfusion machine is really great and super efficient, but it costs atoms. I believe the asteroid is a plan that could be bought with gold or gotten from daily ops. Same thing with the foundry smelter or even the radioactive barrel. So just go and use one of those, throw it back at your camp, and then boom, you could just fill up your glow meter before you start your day in the wasteland every single time. And then obviously when you go back to reapply your buffs, like your your sleeping buff or some of your food buffs that you have to get from your kitchen, like your company tea or your coffee or whatever like that, just go ahead and reapply that buff and go and just get your glow meter to fill up. Now, moving on to the ways you can keep your glow meter nice and high while not at camp, and I'll start with the worst ways and work my way down to the best way, in my opinion. The first way I wanted to talk about is through food. Yes, that's right. Almost all food gives radiation in Fallout 76, besides a select few. Specifically, you should try to eat spoiled food like spoiled meat or vegetables. These will give you the most bang for your buck in terms of radiation. This, unfortunately, isn't the best way to get rads because it's pretty heavy to carry around 60 pieces of spoiled meat, and it's also kind of a pain in the ass to go ahead and farm a bunch of meat. I know you could kill insects, or you could just pick a bunch of corn to get spoiled vegetables, but spoiled vegetables don't give you as much rads as spoiled meat, and spoiled meat is pretty heavy. Like I said, it doesn't give you too many rads, and you'll have to eat a crap ton of them just to fill up your bar all the way compared to the other options on this list. And like I said, really heavy. You don't want to carry around 60 pieces of spoiled meat. That's going to weigh a decent amount, and you could be carrying more junk with that weight. Instead, you're carrying around rotten meat in your inventory just to do more damage. I would suggest moving on to option 2 on this list. One of the much better ways to fill your glow meter is by consuming the ever-loving toxic goo. I say this because it gives a crap ton of rads, and it's also stupidly easy to get, as I will show you here. You just show up to Westec, go into the second room, kill a couple super mutants, and then just collect the toxic goo in this little place. You can collect it all around Westec, but this is the easiest place. You can collect an infinite amount of these for later use. Again, though, just like the meat, the main downside of this method is the fact that these also weigh something, and they are kind of heavy if you're carrying a shit ton around with you or storing a shit ton in your stash. You don't constantly have to go to Westec every single day just to re-up on 25 of these toxic goo containers. But however, there is a little, I guess, a ray of sunshine in that darkness. You won't need to carry too many of these around at a time because it will basically only take 1 or 2 depending on how many rads what your rad resistance is to fill up your whole entire bar. Just sucks you can't really hold 1,000 of these or an infinite amount of these at a time, so you have to keep farming them at some point, which is kind of annoying. But I would say the magnum opus of getting radiation is going to be the final and my favorite way. It's going to be the extremely underutilized gamma gun. The gamma gun is basically a handheld radiation blaster. It's just a toaster that you fucking shoot, basically. It just shoots a giant orb of radiation that could do some crazy damage by itself as a ghoul, especially if you have that onslaught thing going on, and obviously the energy weapon boost. I like to use it on my melee build, not only as a way to get radiation, but as a way to kill enemies also. But you could get an insane amount of rads with this thing. It's quick to pull out if you have it on your favorites or your hotbar. You just pull it, you shoot it at the ground, boom, your rads are filled. It will. I think the non-quad one comes with 8 bullets in the magazine, so you shoot 4 of them and your radiation is entirely filled up. The gun practically weighs nothing itself. The ammo is also pretty cheap to craft, abundant if you use it on enemies, like if you pick them up, and also it doesn't weigh much either. It weighs practically nothing compared to Toxic Goo, and if you have perk cards, you could reduce the weight of all energy ammo. But yeah, if you're ever in a tight spot, and if you need to pull out this thing out to regen some glow and keep yourself alive and also keep yourself doing more damage, literally just throw this weapon into your hand, shoot the ground, run up to an enemy, shoot the ground, you're dealing damage to him, you're going to kill the enemy, and you will also constantly have a full glow meter, which is pretty insane. Before we end the video, I just wanted to talk about power armor separately because it's a whole different beast. As you know, it's much more difficult to gain glow or radiation with power armor because all of the power armors have a pretty high rad resistance compared to other armors, especially of the main armor that you're going to want to use as a ghoul, or at least a ghoul if you're running a melee build. The Thorns armor, which practically has no radiation resistance, going into a giant hunk of metal is going to protect you from the elements a little bit more. So I personally think if you're running a power armor build, you need to have a solid stockpile of the toxic goo on you. Spoiled food won't give you enough rads because again, the radiation resistance in power armor just cuts it down to basically nothing. And if you use a gamma gun in power armor, you'll just blow through so much ammo and you'll have to constantly reload just to fill yourself up. So you should, without a doubt, just stick to the toxic goo. It'll just take a few more than usual to fill your glow meter up, but again, there are perk cards that could really help with this whole entire thing, so it doesn't matter that much. Just carry some toxic goo on you or keep a gamma gun on you. That's the lesson of this video. Those are the two best ways to regenerate your glow meter and keep yourself topped off. Without a doubt, it's going to be the gamma gun. Quickly throw it out, shoot the floor, boom, you're filled up. Or, of course, the toxic goo, which has been a staple amongst Bloodied players and now Ghoul players since basically the start of Fallout 76's existence. Well, ladies and gents, we made it to the end of another Fallout 76 video. I hope you found it useful. I hope you liked the ways that I pick, and I hope you're able to get something out of it. If I've left any way of keeping your glow meter filled that you prefer, please let me know in the comments. These are just the ways that came to my mind when I was writing the script for this video, and it's the ways that I tend to use while actually playing in the Wasteland. Again, stick to toxic goo if you're in power armor, or just use a gamma gun if you're not in power armor. Again, it's the fastest option, the gamma gun, and it could also kill enemies without a hassle if you're spec'd into onslaught with your perk cards, or you have any energy dealing or any energy weapon boosts in your perk cards, or again, if you're just using glow, that's enough to make this gun destroy everything. It's pretty broken. The glow just makes most weapons in this game extremely good if you know what you're doing and if you know how to build. But there you go, toxic goo, gamma gun, or even spoiled food if you're in a pinch. And as always, I appreciate you motherfuckers for watching this motherfucking video, and I will see you in the Wasteland. Good luck out there, everyone. Enjoy the Ghoul update.